know that whatever happens in the Senate, whether they get their act together, agree on a measure mutually on infrastructure only, and then separately there will come, a much more large package, a $33.5 trillion package that Republicans want nothing to do with. But we are told that Nancy Pelosi, while not wanting them joined at the hip, will not consider action on one or the other until they're both done in the Senate. Do you think that's a mistake?
I don't, Neil. First, let's look at why this bipartisan deal is falling apart. It's because of the revenue. You know that's always the issue. Now, if the Republicans aren't willing to say that rich people should be paying the taxes they owe, that's all one of the bill's provisions was, enforcement. And they're not willing to audit folks to make sure they give tax compliance. How are you going to raise the revenue? And that's, I think, the biggest challenge.
So that $100 billion for the IRS that you guys wanted, that is Democrats, to beef up enforcement, that's out of there now. Do you know how that could be made up now that that's out?
I don't know. I mean, what the Republicans have said, as I understand it, is we don't want to repeal any of the Trump tax cuts, and we don't want any enforcement. So how are you going to get to $1.2 trillion? I mean, look, you ask me, how am I going to pay for $3.5 trillion? I'll tell you how to pay for it. Enforce the tax codes on the rich, make sure Amazon is paying taxes, increase taxes on the ultra-rich, and I'm very straightforward on what we need to do, and don't get into all these
bigger problem for Republicans, and this is something I discussed with Senator John Thune and leadership in the Senate, that this attaching this other measure, the far more expensive and controversial one, at least for Republicans, is a no-go, and that suddenly keeps coming up again. Even though the president himself has said one isn't linked to the other, it clearly is, not so much a time issue here, but in priority. I'm just wondering if that is a mistake. If you can live with infrastructure only, get that settled, the revenue, the stuff that you alluded to, then down the road address this larger measure.
Well, I think the Speaker is right to have them both come at the same time, because she's concerned if we just have the bipartisan deal that we would never get the other deal. But I vote all the time.
But a bipartisan deal is better than no deal at all, right?
Sure, but I'm not convinced that you would get the bipartisan deal, and I don't think that's what's killing it. I mean, look, we all vote on legislation. You vote on the legislation in front of you. I'm not going to say yes or no on the bipartisan deal if that's the direction the Speaker goes in, based on whether it's linked or not.
One at a time, though. Why not just wait? See how this goes. You have the free opportunity now to pursue the larger piece and see how that goes. She seems to be joining them at the hip.
Well, because I think there are a lot of concerns that people have about the bipartisan deal as written. It doesn't have provisions on the climate. It doesn't have issues of raising tax revenue from the very wealthy. And what we want to do is have both considered. I think that's appropriate. Members should vote their conscience. I mean, they should vote how they feel on both.
All right, we'll see and see how it all sorts out. Representative Khanna, thank you very much, Congressman. Good seeing you again.
Always great being on.
All right.